Hello, this is Mrs. Kohler back again. Here's your smiley face to welcome you this time as well. And we are going to talk about different types of cells. Now last time we talked about what cells were and how they were discovered using microscopes, but today we're actually going to talk about types. And there's actually two podcasts that go with this quiz. Oops, not a podcast. It's a podcast. Two podcasts that go with this quiz, so make sure you watch them both before you take the quiz. So first we're going to talk about prokaryotes. So prokaryote, so we're talking about early cells, really simple cells, the first ones to evolve. They have very simple structures inside of them. So prokaryote is a small, simple cell. Now, when we say small, we mean like between 1 and 10 micrometers. Now, if you remember when we were measuring the width of a cell before, we were getting much larger numbers than 1 to 10. We were getting like 200 to 600. So prokaryotic cell is very small. Includes, the type of organisms that it includes are bacteria, and archaea. Remember, archaea were a special type of bacteria that live in extreme environments such as hot springs or geothermal vents in the ocean. And now they do have DNA, but their DNA floats inside the cytoplasm. And if you look right here, here's the DNA, but there's nothing around the DNA to hold it in. It just floats around. So they don't have anything around their DNA to keep it organized. They do have ribosomes. And these little dots right here are ribosomes. They have a cell membrane, which is this real thin layer here, and they have a cell wall, which is this thick area right here. Now, eukaryotes, on the other hand, are much, much more complex. Eukaryotes evolved later, and we actually think that a lot of the parts inside eukaryotes are actually smaller cells that got into bigger cells, and instead of getting digested, stayed there and did something good for them. So it's a type of symbiosis. So a eukaryote is a larger, more complex cell. And when we say large, like 10 to 100 micrometers, but there can be bigger ones, to as large as 1,000 micrometers. A chicken egg is a single cell, and that's 1.5 inches long. Eukaryotes include plants, animals, and fungi, so those are the types of organisms that are included with eukaryotes. So they're most of the organisms that you tend to think of when you think of things in biology. They also have DNA, but their DNA is inside a nucleus. So here's the nucleus right here. The DNA is actually surrounded by a membrane that holds it in and helps keep it organized. They also have ribosomes. The ribosomes are here on this yellow thing. They have a cell membrane, and they also have cytoplasm, which is this stuff around all of the other organelles. But they have other organelles that are bound up by membranes. They actually have, if you look at like the mitochondria here, it's got a double layer structure that we'll look at later, and it's got a membrane around it. And these things that have a membrane around them are things that we think at one point were actually their own independent cells, but over time they've lost the ability to survive on their own. There's also Golgi, endoplasmic reticulum. Anything with a membrane around it is found only in eukaryotes, not prokaryotes. So there's a long list of organelles that are found in eukaryotes, but not prokaryotes. But there are some things that they have in common. Now, they both have DNA. The main difference is the DNA in a prokaryote is not in the nucleus, but in a eukaryote it is in the nucleus. They both have ribosomes, which is important because they need to make proteins, and that's what ribosomes do. They both have cell membranes or plasma membranes. They both have cytoplasm. And they're both types of living things. They're cells. If something is a cell, it's alive. So they are both types of living things, even though they are very different from each other. Don't forget at the top of your page to write a question that you still have about prokaryotes and eukaryotes.